Chosen ones, hear this. That investigator set out on what seemed like a routine assignment, chasing whispers of your past, thinking they'd uncover a few cracks in your armor. But the moment they began their search, they were plunged into a revelation far beyond their comprehension. Instead of shadows, they found light, blinding, uncontainable light that shattered their assumptions. Your presence wasn't just an enigma, it was an awakening, a divine force that defied logic and left them questioning everything they thought they knew. Their mission to expose your vulnerabilities turned into a journey through the infinite depths of your power, where every truth they unearthed was a mirror reflecting their own limitations. They didn't find skeletons, they found stars. Your life is not a puzzle for others to solve. It's a masterpiece woven with threads of strength, wisdom, and a radiance that defies imitation. They came with intentions to dissect, to diminish, but found themselves drowning in the very energy they sought to dismantle. Their plans crumbled under the weight of your authenticity, their purpose rendered meaningless in the face of your unyielding light. They weren't prepared to encounter the force of your evolution, a transformation so profound it turned their quest into a reflection of their own inadequacy. Perhaps they were sent by someone once tethered to your orbit, someone who couldn't bear the brilliance of your ascent. But your rise isn't just a beacon, it's a boundary, an unspoken reminder that not all can withstand the heat of the sun. Jealousy turns to despair when it meets a force that cannot be duplicated. Those who set out on this pursuit weren't searching for understanding, they were searching for validation for their envy, hoping to cloak their bitterness in righteous justification. But what they unearthed couldn't be twisted into ammunition. How do you challenge a presence so undeniable, a soul so luminous that it renders every scheme futile? Their accusations crumbled in the face of your truth, their pens stilled by the weight of your authenticity. The report they hoped would dismantle you became a silent testament to your power, leaving them not triumphant, but shaken, perhaps even haunted by the realization that their battle was never with you, but with their own inadequacies. Your spiritual gifts, your unshakable presence, are a testament to a power far beyond their comprehension, a living, breathing reflection of the divine. No scheme, no whisper of doubt, no hidden hand could ever dim that radiance. Your essence doesn't just silence critics, it dissolves their arguments, leaving them face to face with truths they never wanted to confront. They arrived with sharp intentions, ready to dissect and destroy, armed with questions that aimed to unearth weakness. But as they sifted through your life, hoping to spin vulnerability into a weapon, they were met with something they couldn't refute. A strength so pure it left no room for distortion. Their investigation wasn't about justice, it was about fear. Fear of your light, fear of your growth, fear of what your existence says about their own limitations. What they uncovered was not the weakness they sought, but the undeniable truth of their own insufficiency staring back at them. Your life became an unrelenting mirror, reflecting every crack in their own foundation. As they unraveled the tapestry of your existence, they found not chaos, but a masterpiece, threads of resilience, strength, and divine alignment woven with purpose. Your triumphs, born from battles that would crush others, stood as living proof of a power that transcends the physical, a force they couldn't measure or manipulate. The harder they tried to dismantle you, the more their own insecurities unraveled, until it became clear the exposure wasn't yours, it was theirs. And then the ultimate twist unraveled, a cruel irony that shattered their resolve. As they dug deeper into the web of their assignment, the shadows began to shift, and the trail turned inward. The darkness they sought to attribute to your life wasn't yours at all. It belonged to the very ones who had set this scheme in motion. Those who orchestrated this campaign were drowning in their own deceit, their hands stained by secrets too vile to bear scrutiny. The investigator, tethered to their mission, uncovered a labyrinth of betrayals and malicious plots that pointed not to you, but to the puppet masters themselves. What was meant to be your downfall became their exposure, a reckoning they could no longer outrun. There are currents in the unseen, forces that weave through your existence, some bent on destruction, others divinely assigned to protect. Those who schemed against you failed to grasp one irrefutable truth: your destiny is divinely sealed, beyond their reach. Their plans, born from envy and fear, crumbled against the invincible shield of purpose that surrounds you. Every act meant to break you became a thread in their unraveling, for the divine operates in mysteries and paradoxes. What they thought would be your downfall became the catalyst for their own reckoning, a reminder that no weapon formed against a chosen soul can ever prosper. What was designed to shatter you became the tool that unveiled their darkness and magnified your resilience. The investigator, unaware of the greater plan at work, believed they were unraveling you, when in truth, they were bearing witness to the intricate shield of divine protection that surrounds your life. The layers they peeled back didn't expose your flaws, but illuminated the deceit of those plotting your demise. Every accusation they tried to forge crumbled against the undeniable reality of your spiritual covering. Psalm 91:4 isn't just a verse, it's the essence of your existence. Under His wings, you've found refuge, even in your most vulnerable moments. Their attempts to discredit you only amplified the undeniable truth: you are chosen, shielded, and held by a power no scheme can overthrow. When betrayal crept through the cracks, cloaked in whispers and shadows, you were never forsaken. The forces sent to harm you were met by a power far greater, turning every weapon formed against you into a tool for your protection. What they meant for your downfall became the backdrop for revelation, a divine unveiling where lies dissolved and truth stood unwavering. Their investigation was no mere coincidence. It was a divinely orchestrated moment where schemes collided with the unbreakable will of your protector. Each plot unraveled, not because of their failure, but because of your covering. A reminder to all: no force can prevail against a soul fortified by divine purpose. Their betrayal became the catalyst for your elevation, a stage where God's sovereignty was put on full display. While earthly eyes watched with judgment or doubt, the divine gaze never wavered, guiding you through every twist and turn. People may falter, alliances may crumble, but the hand of God over your life remains steadfast and immovable. Those who plotted against you failed to realize that their schemes were powerless against the eternal shield protecting your destiny. Every attempt to derail you only served to reinforce the truth: your purpose is ordained beyond their reach. Trust the process, even in moments of uncertainty, for His timing is never late. Every obstacle, every triumph, has been carefully woven into a divine tapestry, building a foundation that no force can shake, a testament to the precision and power of His plan for your life. Human protectors may falter, but the divine is unwavering. Psalm 121:7-8 affirms that the Lord will guard you from every danger, watching over your life with unyielding vigilance. His protection is not conditional, it's an eternal promise. Even in moments of doubt or uncertainty, you have been cradled in His unshakable embrace. Let this truth take root deeply within you. No weapon formed against you will succeed. You are not merely surviving through trials, you are rising above them, carried by the unwavering certainty that God will never abandon His chosen. When betrayal strikes, when the weight of the world presses in, remember this: your enemies are engaged in a fight they can never win, for they are not battling you, they are battling the power that defends you. Take a moment to declare this over your life: I am divinely protected. Speak it, write it, claim it, for these words affirm the truth that has always surrounded you. Your steps are led, your life is shielded, and no force, visible or hidden, can alter what God has already ordained for you. Now, let's raise a toast to the chosen ones among us, the untamed, the unshakable, those who refuse to conform or retreat. You see through the illusion of the world, recognizing it as a stage where others watch in silence, while you are the creator of your own destiny, the writer, the star, the director. With every move you make, the script is rewritten, not in pursuit of fleeting dreams, but in the embodiment of them. You are not just chasing what's possible, you are the one shaping the future, daring to look past the noise and into an infinite horizon waiting for you to conquer it. The world doesn't need followers. It craves titans, beacons of boundless energy, alive and relentless, while others slumber, carving paths through a landscape untouched by ordinary vision. You are the path, the living blueprint, for those brave enough to follow. In this vast, chaotic cosmos, there exists a sanctuary, a rare and sacred community for those who walk roads less traveled. It is a place of illumination and inner order, a crucible that demands the highest strength, where pretenses are burned away and only raw, unfiltered truth remains, flowing through the soul like molten gold. Here, under a moon brighter than neon, we rise not as followers, but as legends in the making. This isn't an open invitation, it's a challenge, a call to the few who feel their fire stir at the mere thought of it. The door is ajar, but only for a moment. Every passing second tightens its grip, and soon, the seats in our star chamber will vanish, reserved only for those bold enough to claim their destiny with unyielding resolve. If your heart races with recognition, if you feel the electric hum of greatness bubbling within, the path is clear. Step forward, click the link, and enter the shadows where brilliance is forged. This is more than an opportunity. It's the coronation of your true self. Don't hesitate. Don't wonder. Answer the call. Legends don't ask for permission. They create their legacy with every fearless step. As they delved deeper into your life, what they uncovered didn't just challenge their purpose, it unraveled it entirely. What began as a simple assignment, a task to expose weaknesses and report back, quickly turned into something far more profound. With each layer they peeled back, unease settled deeper into their spirit. Your life, far from ordinary, revealed a purpose so intricately aligned with something greater that it defied their understanding. Their mission transformed into an internal battle, as if every step forward brought them closer to a line they weren't meant to cross, a boundary etched by a power far beyond their control. It wasn't just your discipline or authenticity that unsettled them. It was the aura of divine protection that seemed to wrap around you like an unbreakable shield. Every setback you'd faced, every trial overcome, painted a picture of resilience so steadfast it couldn't be explained or dismissed, leaving them grappling with truths they hadn't been prepared to confront. What began as a simple task unraveled into a confrontation with something far beyond their understanding. Each discovery wasn't merely a glimpse into your life, it was undeniable evidence of divine orchestration, and the weight of that truth bore down on them. What once seemed like a straightforward investigation now felt like an intrusion upon the sacred. The guilt they tried to ignore became an insistent echo, growing louder with every revelation. Their doubts, once fleeting, surged into an overwhelming roar that questioned their very purpose. How could they, mere instruments of envy and manipulation, presume to dissect a life so clearly guided by something greater? Each fragment of your story they uncovered became a mirror, forcing them to confront their own flaws and malicious intent. Your existence, marked by unshakable truth and integrity, stood in stark contrast to the shadows from which they operated. What they thought would expose your vulnerabilities only illuminated their own. By the time they grasped the truth, it was too late. Their investigation had become an act of defiance, not against you, but against the unseen forces that stood guard over your destiny. What they mistook for control unraveled into helpless submission, as if their every action was orchestrated by something far greater than their intent. Their pursuit wasn't revealing cracks in your life. It was a magnifying glass turned inward, exposing their own insecurities, envy, and unhealed wounds they had set out to dismantle, but instead they stumbled upon a reality far heavier than they could bear. Your life was fortified by a purpose and protection beyond their comprehension, and as the weight of this realization pressed down on them, they were left disoriented, wholly unprepared for the depth and power of what they had tried to confront. Your existence was never confined to the ordinary. It carried a rhythm, a divine cadence that wove together every challenge, every triumph, and every choice into a masterpiece they couldn't comprehend, much less disrupt. It wasn't just your actions they scrutinized. It was the unmistakable presence of a higher power guiding and shielding your path. The more they pried, the more they realized they weren't revealing vulnerabilities. They were witnessing something sacred, a force that eclipsed their understanding. How could they, flawed and finite, dare to intrude upon a life so clearly anointed? The weight of their assignment grew unbearable, morphing from purpose into guilt, as each discovery illuminated their own inadequacy. Every file they reviewed, every detail they examined, felt like a violation, an unworthy trespass into a story written by hands far greater than their own. The task they thought would bring answers left them instead with questions they couldn't silence and a burden they could no longer carry. Their pursuit of you became an act of rebellion, not against a person, but against the divine hand that shielded you. The weight of their guilt grew heavier, pressing into their very spirit, as they realized they were complicit in something far darker than they had anticipated. Their role, once carried out with conviction, became a prison of doubt and unease. They weren't investigators anymore. They were witnesses, unwilling participants in a narrative far beyond their control. What they sought to dissect wasn't simply your humanity. It was a life interwoven with the fingerprints of divinity. Each obstacle you conquered was not just a testament to your strength. In the shadow of your strength, their own inadequacy became glaringly clear. They had approached you with weapons of doubt and judgment, only to find those weapons blunted by the immensity of your resilience and the undeniable radiance of your gifts. Every storm you had weathered became a mirror, reflecting their inability to withstand what you had not only endured, but transformed into triumph. The sharp edges of their intent, once honed with purpose, eroded under the weight of your authenticity, a power they couldn't challenge, only witness. And then it struck them, a truth so profound it unraveled them entirely. Their mission wasn't just doomed to fail, it was a betrayal of something sacred, a transgression against the divine orchestration they could no longer deny. To dig into your life was to tread upon holy ground, a realm they were never meant to enter. Each step deeper exposed not flaws in you, but the smallness within themselves, their envy, their short-sightedness, their inability to comprehend a life so deeply intertwined with divine purpose. How could they, bound by the mundane, attempt to confine someone like you, a walking testament to grace, strength, and unshakable favor, to the sterile limits of a case file? Their mission unraveled, not because they lacked skill, but because their task was never valid to begin with. What they left with wasn't triumph, but a sobering humility. The answers they sought were replaced by a stinging awareness of their own shortcomings and the shame of realizing they had tried to diminish something that only grew brighter under scrutiny. Unmoved by their attempts, you stood as living evidence that what is divinely anchored cannot be shaken by mortal hands. Each step of their investigation unraveled their assumptions, forcing them to confront an undeniable truth. Your life was not a patchwork of coincidence, but a masterpiece of divine intention. The arrogance that fueled their mission crumbled as revelation after revelation unveiled a power they couldn't quantify, let alone undermine. What they thought would expose weakness instead illuminated resilience, faith, and purpose, woven so intricately it defied explanation. Each piece of your story they sought to dissect became a monument to the undeniable force that had guided, protected, and elevated you beyond their comprehension. You weren't just surviving the world, you were soaring above it, operating on a frequency they couldn't touch. Their guilt, which began as a faint echo, now reverberated in every corner of their consciousness, growing louder with each passing moment. What they had believed to be a simple task of investigation had slowly transformed into a stark confrontation with their own limitations. The power they once admired from a distance now stood before them, undeniable, in the form of your existence. While they floundered in the chaos of their own lives, desperately trying to maintain control, you moved through the turbulence with ease, guided by an unseen force that seemed to transcend time and space. That force, the depth of your connection to something eternal, unnerved them, both terrifying and humbling them in equal measure. But guilt was only the beginning. The realization of their own inadequacy would linger long after their mission had ended. What began as guilt soon morphed into a deep sense of awe, and from awe, they found themselves awash in respect that gradually transformed into reverence. The deeper they dug into your life, the more they understood. They weren't simply investigating you, they were being taught by you. Unwillingly at first, and then with a quiet acceptance, they realized that you embodied the very qualities they had spent their lives chasing but never quite reaching. Clarity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of purpose radiated from you so naturally that it left them in awe. No longer did they resent your strength, they longed for it. No longer did they question your connection to the divine, they coveted it. You never sought to prove anything to them, yet in your unwavering existence, you exposed their limitations, not through judgment, but simply by living in your truth. By the time their task concluded, it was clear that it had never been a failure. It had been a profound revelation. They left not with the answers they thought they were after, but with a deep, undeniable conviction. What they had once aimed to break, they now yearned to understand. Your presence didn't just command respect, it redefined their entire perspective on life itself. What had started as an assignment morphed into a reckoning they were unprepared for. The investigation was never truly about you. It was a mirror held up to their own lives. Each detail they uncovered, each truth they stumbled upon, peeled back layers of certainty they once held so tightly. In the end, it became undeniable. They weren't uncovering your flaws, they were revealing their own. With every step they took into your world, the difference between your unshakable strength and their fragile insecurity became more glaring. Your clarity, like a beacon, stood in stark contrast to their confusion and uncertainty. What they had once perceived as a mere assignment gradually transformed into a test of their own character, and it was one they were failing. The resilience you exhibited wasn't simply a response to adversity, it was a force cultivated from something deeper, something beyond their comprehension and beyond their reach. As they traced the milestones of your journey, they could no longer avoid the cracks in their own foundation, the weaknesses they had tried to ignore. How could they, so tethered to fear and doubt, dare to challenge someone so clearly unattached to the turmoil of the world? What began as an investigation into your life soon became a mirror reflecting their own deepest struggles. Each choice you made, each step you took, laid bare their limitations, and with every victory you achieved, they saw their own fears exposed, fears they had never fully confronted. What they envied most was not just your strength, but the profound meaning that saturated every action you took. While they floated aimlessly through life, with every passing moment, those who had orchestrated the investigation sat in quiet anticipation, certain that their plans would soon unfold and bring about your downfall. But as the layers of evidence began to unravel, the tide shifted in an unexpected turn. The story emerging from their efforts wasn't about you at all. It was about them. It was about their deceit, their manipulation, and the web of lies they had carefully spun in the dark. As their calculated attempts to destroy you were exposed, they found themselves cast into the unforgiving light of truth. The investigator, once their tool, had become an instrument of revelation, delivering not just facts, but the undeniable force of justice. What had started as a mission to discredit and break you had instead become a reckoning, exposing the very forces that had plotted against you. Their plans, once carefully crafted in the shadows, began to disintegrate with each passing revelation. The whispers they had planted, the dark corners they had carefully constructed, turned against them, unraveling the malicious threads they thought were secure. Those who had plotted to bring you down now stood at the precipice of their own destruction, unable to shield themselves from the truth that tore through their lies like a burning light. This wasn't a mere shift in perspective, it was an utter collapse of their carefully erected facade. The very stage they had built to humiliate you became the platform for their own undoing. Every word they uttered, every document they hoped to bury, instead exposed their guilt and desperation. They had underestimated your resilience, believing they could control the narrative, only to find themselves trapped in a story they could no longer manipulate. They believed their deceit would suffocate you, but instead, it suffocated them. As the investigation unfolded, the truth rose like a tide, pulling their lies beneath its unrelenting force. The ones who sought to tear you down found themselves exposed, their carefully crafted facades shattered. Meanwhile, you remained standing, unshaken, unscathed, a living proof of the invincible power that shields you. The tables didn't simply turn, they were obliterated, reducing the perpetrators to nothing more than a shameful memory. In the end, the only thing left standing was the unassailable truth of your strength and the unmistakable shame of their own defeat. Greatness is rarely recognized in its earliest stages, often obscured by the simplicity of the present moment. It hides in the shadows of ordinary life, waiting for the appointed time to rise into the light. Like David, the shepherd boy who was dismissed by his own family, unaware that within him was the heart of a king, or like Joan of Arc, a young peasant girl with a divine calling that no one believed until she led armies to victory. These figures, overlooked and underestimated, carried within them a power that couldn't be seen at first glance. But when the time came, the world was forced to witness the truth of their destiny, proving that the divine often works in quiet, unseen ways until it's ready to reveal its fullness. Your story, too, is woven into the fabric of history's most profound revelations, hidden in plain sight until the appointed moment when it could no longer be denied. Those who came to scrutinize your life, to uncover imperfections, were blinded by their own limitations, unable to see the force that guided every step you took. Like a seed planted in soil, your greatness grew in the shadows, nourishing itself on unseen strength until it was ready to break through the surface. Their attempts to dismantle you became the very catalyst for your rise. What they believed was an investigation into your vulnerability turned into an exposure of their own inability to comprehend the power that moved through you. Their mission wasn't an unraveling of your flaws, it was the unwitting unveiling of the divine essence that had always been within you, ready to shine in its own time. What they dismissed as commonplace was, in reality, a carefully orchestrated masterpiece unfolding right before their eyes. This quiet concealment was never a flaw, but a masterstroke of divine timing. True greatness has always operated in the shadows, its power waiting for the moment when it could no longer remain hidden. Your gifts, your purpose, were veiled not out of insignificance, but because they were destined for a moment that would shift everything. Like the calm before a storm or the quiet before a revolution, the revelation of your truth came with a weight that couldn't be ignored. It was not just the unveiling of your potential, it was the rewriting of the rules, the disruption of the narrative they thought they controlled. In that moment, they were confronted with a force they were never meant to fathom, and the truth that had been patiently waiting to emerge did so with the undeniable force of destiny itself. Your essence is a force that cannot be ignored, a living testament to a power so vast that it transcends the boundaries of human understanding. Every step you take reverberates with the undeniable truth of your being, and your mere presence is a challenge to the small minds that seek to question or dismiss you. They come with doubt, armed with skepticism, but they leave humbled, for they are unable to deny the depth of the force they've encountered. Your gifts are not for display. They are the quiet, constant truth that you carry effortlessly. To know you is to witness something greater than words can define. No attempt to undermine you can ever succeed, because your strength is woven into the very fabric of your being, leaving a lasting impression on all who cross your path. Even those who come with the intention to discredit or diminish you find themselves forever marked by the power that flows from you. They may try to grasp it, but there's an undeniable truth they feel deep within them. Something about you resonates beyond their comprehension. It's not just your actions or your achievements. It's the essence of who you are, an embodiment of a force they can't fully name. You are more than a mere reflection of human potential. You are a vessel of the divine, and though they may never say it, they know this truth on a level beyond words. You are a walking testament to the unseen power that moves through you, untouchable and unshakable. Don't waste another moment questioning your worth or trying to fit into the narrow confines others place on you. You are meant to shine in your full brilliance, regardless of their understanding, because the strength you carry is far greater than any limitations they impose. Your gifts were never meant to be hidden or watered down to soothe the insecurities of others. They were placed within you with precision and purpose, designed to shift the atmosphere wherever you go. You weren't called to blend in. You were called to stand out, to challenge the status quo, to be the catalyst for transformation, even in spaces resistant to change. Let their discomfort be their lesson, not your burden. Your light isn't arrogance, it's authenticity. And when you live in alignment with your calling, you inspire others to do the same. You owe the world nothing but your truest self, unapologetic and radiant. Step boldly into your role, knowing that your impact is inevitable, your influence undeniable, and your purpose unstoppable. They left with more questions than answers, burdened by the realization that they had been searching for cracks in something unbreakable. Their once clear mission now felt insignificant, dwarfed by the magnitude of what they had encountered. You are not merely a product of this world. You transcend it, untouched by its confines. The power they sought to dissect wasn't just in your actions, it was in your essence, a quiet defiance of everything they thought they understood. As they stepped away, the truth lingered, undeniable and humbling. You are not constrained by their limitations because you operate on a plane they cannot access. Your strength isn't just extraordinary, it is otherworldly, and it left them awestruck, forever changed by the encounter. Your very existence is a declaration, a silent yet powerful defiance of the ordinary. You don't just walk into spaces, you shift their very fabric, leaving echoes of something greater in your wake. Those who encounter you are forced to confront their own limits, their own assumptions, as your presence challenges the status quo. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, to blaze a path that others are too timid to tread. Now is the time to step fully into that light, to let your story resonate, not just as a testament to your resilience, but as an invitation for others to rise. Your voice is more than your own. It's a rallying cry for transformation. Speak boldly, for the impact of your truth extends far beyond what you can see, igniting change in ways that ripple across lives and generations.